Gerald R Ford, in English USS Gerald R Ford, is an American aircraft carrier, the flagship of the same type, which is to replace the Nimitz-class aircraft carriers. Named after the 38th President of the United States, Gerald Ford. The Gerald R Ford-class aircraft carriers are a class of nuclear-powered aircraft carriers currently under construction for the United States Navy. The planned 10-ship class will replace the Navy's current aircraft carriers on a one-by-one basis, starting with the lead ship Gerald R Ford, which will replace the Enterprise, and then eventually take the place of the current carriers of the class Nimitz. The new ships have hulls similar to those of the Nimitz class, but incorporate modern ones such as an electromagnetic aircraft launch system, as well as other design features designed for improvement. Efficiency and reduced operating costs, including low crew travel. The first ship of the class, CVN-78, was laid down at Newport News Shipbuilding in Newport News, Virginia in 2008 and commissioned on July 22, 2017. The second ship of the class, the John F. Kennedy, is expected to be commissioned in 2024. The cost of construction in 2008 amounted to $5.1 billion. The laying took place on the 13th of November, 2009. The solemn ceremony of launching the ship took place on the 9th of November, 2013. Susan Ford Bales, the daughter of the 38th U.S. President Gerald Ford, after whom the aircraft carrier is named, was tasked with breaking a bottle of champagne over the side of the ship. At the time of launching, construction work on the aircraft carrier, Gerald R Ford, was 70% complete. The ship was planned to be fully completed by 2015, after which the aircraft carrier had to undergo a series of sea trials. But it did not turn out as expected. Construction was delayed. It was expected that Gerald R Ford will enter the United States Navy in the year 2016. However, the sea trials of the ship began only on the 4th of April, 2017. It was put into service on July 22, 2017. Features of the aircraft carrier Gerald R Ford. The movement of weapons from storage and assembly to the aircraft has been optimized and accelerated. Ammunition is lifted to a centralized rearming location by larger capacity elevators that use linear motors. These elevators are located so that the munitions do not have to cross any area of aircraft movement, reducing hangar and crew movement problems. In 2008, Rear Admiral Dennis M. Dwyer said that these changes would hypothetically allow aircraft to be rearmed in minutes instead of hours. Aircraft carrier power supply and power plant. 2 Bechtel A-1B reactors for the Gerald R Ford class are installed on board the aircraft carrier. It is smaller and simpler, requires less crew, but is much more powerful than the A-4W reactor of the Nimitz class. 2 reactors will be installed on each Gerald R Ford class carrier, which will provide at least 25% more power generation capacity than the 550 megawatts of heat of the 2 A-4W reactors on the Nimitz class carrier. The share of thermal energy allocated to electricity production will be tripled. The propulsion and power plant of Nimitz-type carriers were developed in the 60s of the last century, when onboard technologies required less electricity. The new technologies added to the Nimitz-class ships caused an increase in the need for electricity. The current base load leaves little reserve to meet growing electricity needs. Gerald R Ford-class ships convert steam into energy, sending it to 4 main turbine generators to generate electricity for the ship's main systems and new electromagnetic catapults. Ships of the Gerald R Ford type use steam turbines for propulsion. Greater power output is a major component of an integrated combat system. Engineers took extra steps to ensure that unforeseen technological advances could be integrated into the Gerald R Ford class aircraft carrier. The U.S. Navy expects the Gerald R Ford class to be part of the fleet for 90 years, which means the class must successfully embrace new technologies for decades. Only half of the electricity generation capacity is used by the current planned systems, and half remains available for future technologies. Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System. The Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, EMALS, launches aircraft using a catapult that uses a linear induction motor rather than the steam piston used in the Nimitz-class. EMALS accelerates the aircraft more smoothly, putting less stress on its airframe. EMALS also weighs less, is expected to cost less and require less maintenance, and can launch both heavier and lighter aircraft than a steam piston system. It also reduces the carrier's need for fresh water, thus reducing the demand for energy-intensive desalination. Aircraft Landing System. Electromagnets are also used in the new Advanced Arresting Gear, AAG, system. The current system relies on hydraulics to slow and stop a landing aircraft. While the hydraulic system is effective, as demonstrated by more than 50 years of practice, the AAG system offers a number of improvements. The current system is unable to capture unmanned aerial vehicles without damaging them due to extreme loads on the airframe. UAVs do not have the necessary mass to drive the large hydraulic piston used to capture heavier manned aircraft. With the help of electromagnetic elements, energy absorption is controlled by the turboelectric engine. This makes the trap smoother and reduces the impact on the glider. Although the system will look the same from the cockpit as its predecessor, it will be more flexible, safer and more reliable and will require less maintenance and upkeep. Sensors and self-defense systems. Another addition to the Gerald R Ford class is an integrated active radar search and track system with electronic scanning. Raytheon developed a dual-band radar, DBR, for both the Zumwalt-class guided missile destroyers and the Gerald R Ford class aircraft carriers. The island can be reduced by replacing 6 to 10 radar antennas with one hex radar. The DBR works by combining the N/SPY 3 X-band multifunction radar with S-band volume search radar, VSR, emitters spread across 3 phased arrays. The S-band radar was later removed from the Zumwalt destroyers to save money. The 3 faces dedicated to the X-band radar provide low-altitude tracking and radar illumination, while the 3 S-band faces provide all-weather target search and tracking. The simultaneous operation of DBR's 2 electromagnetic frequency bands marks the first time that this function has been achieved using 2 frequencies coordinated by a single resource manager. This new system has no moving parts, which minimizes the need for maintenance and manpower for operation. The N/SPY 3 consists of 3 active arrays and receiver/exciter, REX, cabinets on the upper deck and a signal and data processor, SDP, subsystem on the lower deck. The VSR has a similar architecture, with beamforming and narrowband down conversion occurring in 2 additional cabinets per array. The central controller, resource manager, is located in the data processor, DP. DBR is the first radar system to use a central controller and 2 active array radars operating at different frequencies. The DBR is powered by a common array power system, CAPS, which consists of power conversion units, PCUs, and power distribution units, PDUs. The DBR is cooled using a closed-loop cooling system called the Common Array Cooling System, CACS. The Enterprise Air Surveillance Radar, EASR, is a new surveillance radar design that will be installed on the second Gerald R Ford class aircraft carrier, John F. Kennedy, CVN-79, in place of the dual-band radar. The America-class amphibious assault ships, starting with the LH-8 and the planned LX-R, will also have this radar. The initial cost of the EASR kit per unit will be about $180 million less than the DBR, which is estimated to be approximate. Improvements are possible. Future defense systems such as free electron laser directed energy weapons, electric armor, and tracking systems will require more power. Only half of CVN-78's power generation capabilities are needed to operate the planned systems, including EMALS. CVN-78 will thus have the power reserves that the Nimitz-class lacks to launch lasers and electric armor. The addition of new technologies, power systems, design layouts, and better control systems results in a 25% increase in sortie speed over the Nimitz-class and a 25% reduction in manpower required to operate. Waste management technology will be deployed on the Gerald R Ford. In 2088, Pyrogenesis Canada Incorporated, which was developed in conjunction with the Carderock Division of the Naval Surface Forces Center, was awarded a contract to equip the ship with a plasma arc waste destruction system, PAWDS. This compact system will treat all solid combustible waste generated on board the ship. After completion of factory acceptance tests in Montreal, the system was scheduled to be shipped to the Huntington Ingalls shipyard in late 2011 for installation on the carrier. The Navy is developing a free electron laser, FEL, for defense against cruise missiles and small boats. 3D automated design. Newport News Shipbuilding used a full-scale 3D product model developed in Dassault Systèmes CATIA V5 to design and plan the construction of the Gerald R Ford-class aircraft carriers. The CVN-78 class was designed to have better weapon trajectories, largely eliminating horizontal movements within the ship. Current plans call for moving advanced weapons elevators from storage areas to dedicated weapons handling areas. Sailors used motorized carts to move weapons from storage to elevators on different levels of gun stores. Linear motors are being considered for advanced weapons elevators. The elevators will also be moved in such a way that they do not interfere with the operation of the aircraft in the flight deck. Reconstruction of weapons movement paths and the location of weapons elevators on the flight deck will reduce the number of manpower and contribute to a much higher takeoff. Updating the configuration. The Gerald R Ford class is designed to host the new carrier-based Joint Strike Fighter, F-35C, but delays in the aircraft's development and testing have impacted CVN-78 integration activities. This integration activity includes testing the F-35C with MOL CVN-78 and an advanced locking system, as well as testing the F-35C's lithium-ion battery, tire, and will storage capabilities. Due to delays in the development of the F-35C, the U.S. Navy will not deliver the aircraft until at least 2018, a year after the delivery of the CVN-78. As a result, the Navy has delayed critical F-35C integration activities, creating the risk of system incompatibilities and costly upgrades to the ship once it is delivered to the Navy. Crew quarters. Systems that reduce the burden on the crew allowed the ship's company on the Gerald R Ford-class aircraft carriers to have only 2,600 sailors, about 700 fewer than on the Nimitz-class aircraft carriers. The massive 180-person berthing areas on the Nimitz-class aircraft carriers have been replaced by 40-person berthing areas on the Gerald R Ford-class aircraft carriers. Smaller berths are quieter and the layout requires less movement of people through other spaces. Usually, the racks are installed 3 in height, with room for a locker per person. The berths do not have modern, seated racks with more headroom. The lower and middle racks accommodate only a lying sailor. Each berth has an associated upper section including showers, vacuum septic toilets, no urinals as the rest areas are built with gender neutrality, and sinks to reduce movement and traffic to access these spaces. Halls and rest areas with Wi-Fi support are located opposite the passage in separate places from the berths. Since deployment, the first 2 aircraft carriers of this class have had problems with the plumbing of the waste system. The pipes were too narrow to handle the load of users, causing the vacuum to fail and the toilets to clog repeatedly. To alleviate the problem, special acidic cleaning solutions were used to flush the sewage system. These cleaning procedures cost approximately $400,000 each time, resulting in a significant unplanned increase in the lifetime operating costs of these ships, according to the GAO. These cleanings will have to be performed throughout the life of the ship. Medical institutions. The Gerald R Ford, the first of its class, has an onboard hospital that includes a full laboratory, pharmacy, operating room, 3-bed intensive care unit, 2-bed emergency room, and a 41-bed hospital ward that employs 11 people. Medical workers and 30 orderlies. Top-notch design changes. During the construction of CVN-78, the shipbuilder discovered first-class design changes to the type, which it will use to update the model before building other vessels in its class. Some of these design changes involved changes to the configuration of the emulsions, which required electrical, wiring, other changes to the ship. The Navy anticipates additional design changes resulting from the development and testing of advanced protective equipment. According to the Navy, many of these 19,000 changes were programmed into the construction schedule early on, as a result of the government's decision at the time of the contract to introduce improvements to the ship's combat systems during construction, which are largely dependent on commercial technology advances.